Welcome to the Retreat Leaders Podcast, your sanctuary with retreat experts, where we spill the tea on retreat success. Here we dive into crafting transformational guest experiences, talk about how to avoid pitfalls, and unlock marketing secrets. Whether you're a seasoned guru or a budding enthusiast, we've got the inside scoop for you. Join us as we learn how to flourish in this magical world of retreats. Welcome to the Retreat Leaders Podcast, formerly the Happy Hour Podcast. This is Shannon, and I am so excited to have an amazing guest on the show today who is going to give us some much needed advice and tips and tools for those of us in the retreat business. So welcome, Howard Lim, to the show.
Thank you for having me here.
I'm so excited to have you. Why don't you first start off by just telling everyone a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Sure. So, my name's Howard Lim. I've had this company now for 37 years, How Creative. And we started off helping to lead the digital space for the Fortune 500 companies. For example, we helped bring out DVDs to market, took over VHS and beta. And then probably everybody, that has a kid or has gone to college recently has used one of our branded products, which is the Access card that doubles up as student identity as well as a debit card. So we rolled that out in 94 with UCSB. Now it's global. And what we do currently is that we actually design businesses to their full potential because we find that most companies only reach 25%. So what we do is kind of hybrid method between business development and branding. And when we combine the two, when we work with our clients, they end up with something much more powerful than just a brand or just a business.
I love that so much because back when I first became an entrepreneur, there was tons of people who wanted to help you with your branding. And that's probably still fairly easy to find as someone who will help you with your branding. But the fact that you combine the two together, I think is so critical because they're kind of hand in hand.
Exactly. I got it from my father, but I'm a left and right brain thinker. And so that's how I'm able to bridge the two together, is the creative side being the branding side, and then the logistics side being the left-hand brain side, dealing with logic and ROI.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Hey there, retreat leaders. Are you ready to supercharge your marketing game and sell out your next transformational retreat? Of course you are. And I've got something special just for you. Introducing our free guide, The Top 3 Marketing Tools for Retreat Leaders. This just isn't any guide. It's your ticket to discovering the top 3 tools that will help you create a sold-out, unforgettable retreat experience. But wait, there's more. We've included a little bonus inside to give you that extra edge. Curious about what that is? You'll have to download it to find out. Ready to grab your free guide and take the first step towards retreat marketing mastery? Well, visit retreatmarketingtools.com and download your copy now. And remember, it's absolutely free, so why wait? Visit retreatmarketingtools.com to get your guide and start transforming your retreat marketing strategy today. So the folks that are listening, a lot of them are either starting up their brand or their business. Some of them might have already been dabbling in it. Some of them might be very established, but like you said, they maybe are only hitting 25% of their ability, right? Because I think especially for those in the retreat space, they're focusing mostly on that creative side, that empathetic side. And they're just like, I want to serve, I want to create this amazing experience, and not realizing that if you want to continue to create amazing experiences, you have to have a business that is, functional and profitable and making sense. What are your thoughts about that?
You're absolutely correct. I always start when I work with a company, whether they're well established or a brand new company, is I always look at their business model to see how fruitful it is. A lot of times what I find is a business model itself, as far as its revenue streams, they're maybe having reached maybe 20% of their full potential of clients. And they're not taking consideration that we have now the 4 biggest generations, but there's 3 that are the biggest buying power. And they don't understand that each of these different generations basically respond and behave differently from one generation to the next. So a lot of times what they're communicating to one generation is not appropriate for another generation. And quote unquote, they're not really hitting their target market to begin with. So the business model I look at is like, well, what are you offering? What's unique about it? And then the second question becomes, what's your distribution of that? And then what are the different ways you can make money from that? And then who's your target market to align your business strategy to that market. So I would start with that, the business model, because we could uncover a lot as far as how to improve it and how to exponentially grow it from what is currently created at that point in time with the company.
I love it. Oh gosh, I love this so, so much. And I love that you're talking about the fact that there are three generations with buying power right now. I'm a big, big fan of knowing your target market and being very niched to that target market. I don't believe, but maybe you can correct me if you've seen this in your business effectively. I'm not a big fan of talking to all of them because I feel like if you're talking to all of them at once, you're talking to none of them because it's going to go right over their heads.
You're absolutely right. And it becomes a real waste of marketing dollars. You have to be very, very strategic as far as understanding who's your target market and then understand the value, what you're creating for that target market and aligning with that target market with your brand. By the way, there's three parts to branding. There's strategy, implementation, which is building the brand identity, and then there's now managing the brand to scale and grow it. Exactly what you said at the very beginning, a lot of people say they do branding. 90% of them do the quote unquote the identity, but they don't understand strategy and forget it. They don't understand managing the brand for growth. So what happens is that you have a, kind of like a half-baked idea, actually a one-third baked idea. Okay. And quite honestly, they're not even building a brand identity. It's more like a corporate identity that was created back in the 50s and 60s. So they're creating like, what font should we use? What color should we look at? Well, that's kind of like superficial. You got to get down to the meat, like a foundation, and get to what's going to create it where you could actually grow and scale your company ongoingly. So that gets down to the strategy. Okay. Like what's our position? What's our brand message? What's our brand promise to those target market? What's our personality behind that brand? So unfortunately, a lot of that gets skipped nowadays because there's so much confusion in what branding is.
You are so right. I think a lot of people now assume they can go to Canva, put together a color scheme, a font scheme, a look, a feel, and boom, they've got a business.
Yeah, exactly.
I see that all the time myself. I see where somebody's put together this beautiful brand portfolio, maybe even a website landing page to go with it, and they literally think that this is their business model.
Exactly. And the other thing too, a lot of these people that are using Canva don't have any background or training or education or degree in advertising or graphic design, which is the key to building a brand and also positioning it and also making it look good. Those are what I call desktop publisher. A desktop publisher, a difference between a brand, what I call brand designer and a desktop publisher has no background or experience, doesn't understand any of the principles behind branding, and uses the tool like Canva to throw things together. What they don't understand is there's psychology behind the colors, there's psychology behind what font you use, and actually how you even lay out the page. So there's a big giant gap right now, what's going on, that people are going, oh, we could do this internally. And then they're hiring someone that does marketing, thinking that they could do branding, and it doesn't come close to what's needed. So basically what they're doing is they're having something that's representing them that's totally inaccurate.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think some of that is, the bulk of social media, which is where a lot of people consume their information these days, is actually being driven by the generation that does not have buying power or spending power.
Right.
Right. And so they're seeing this kind of hogmash of stuff going out and they're thinking they need to mimic that's what will work, when it goes back down to what will work is speaking to their buying power people demographic, which is probably not the one who's creating most of the media that we see on social media. And it has to be like, it has to make sense to what you're saying, the psychology of it. Like my first degree is in business, my second degree is in mental health. So I totally get the concept of like, there is like a rhyme, a reason, a thought process, a psychology, if you will, behind why things are positioned the way they are, the way they look, the way they are, et cetera, and so forth.
Exactly. You're exactly right. So what happens is that I created what's called authentic branding 30 years ago, before branding even became a term, really. I used to call it, in fact, when I first started, image marketing, because branding wasn't even considered a category just yet. The point being is that if you really want to create a brand that's longevity and based on a strong foundation, it has to be authentic to you, to your business. I get so many people going, oh, I want a website that looks like Apple. Well, are you Apple? So there's a lot of Me Too's. The problem is because There's more product and service and information out there than ever before. You have to distinguish yourself. If you become a copycat, you're going to die out very quickly. And you're going to be basing yourself on price, not based on value of quality.
Oh my gosh. Could we not make that into a billboard? Seriously. Because that is exactly what happens, especially I feel like in the retreat world. I'm not proud of the fact that I think a lot of retreat hosts, new or established, they look at what other retreat hosts are doing and they just copy it. And that doesn't work. Or they do exactly what we just mentioned earlier, which is they copy other media influencers or people out there that are just getting the likes and getting whatever, which by the way, does not translate to sales. I don't care what anybody says. It just does not, especially for our market. And so having your message, your voice, everything about you, the authentic you, but then positioned in a way that makes sense business wise. That's what I'm hearing.
Exactly, exactly, exactly. It's what I call a signature look. You have to honestly dive really deep. You can't be superficial. When I work with people, when I go through strategy sessions, for example, usually they're 2 to 3 days long. The point being is that we drive so deep into like the philosophy of the company, like which I saw one of your podcasts, which is like the why. So, like, why do you exist, right? Why does the company exist? Another piece of the puzzle besides philosophy, which is why start with your why, is your vision. What legacy do you want to leave behind? So these are things that don't have to do with money, but more about what difference are you making that's dear to your heart. Okay. So it's like digging really deep where it's unshakable. When you start to get to that unshakable ground, that's where you have something you could really build something. And a very tall building versus a one-story building, you could build something that's very strong and that can withstand hurricanes and withstand earthquakes that we've been having lately, right? Because it's built with the right foundation. Quite honestly, before the foundation, it's built with the right soil, right? The core, figuring out doing what they call core analysis with the soil and make sure what kind of foundation you want to build on that soil. When you reach that DNA, when you reach that foundation, you build from there that's authentic to you. That's where you can actually start building what's unstoppable for your brand. And that's how you're going to stand out from others and be not another me too, but be an original because you've done the deep dive and you figured out what is really true to your heart, what's true to your soul, what's true to your purpose, and then start building from there.
I love it. Hey, it's Shannon here. I'm just popping in really quickly to ask a big favor. Would you pause the show and go review it for us? Please. Reviews really help us to be able to get more guests and more experts on the show to help you transform your retreats. So if you wouldn't mind pausing and leaving us a review, that would mean everything. And if you're not already subscribed, do that too. So what I'm hearing, some of the mistakes that people are making, and then I'd love for you to add if there's any that I've missed. They've confused branding with, a logo, right? So they're thinking branding is just simply logo, colors, whatever. They're not using their authentic voice, right? So they're copycatting, me tooing it. They are not speaking to their niche market and they're not branded properly, strategically or otherwise for their niche market. They're trying to talk to everyone, which is talking to no one. What else? What are some of the other pitfalls that you see, business owners fall into that you guys help with?
Yeah. So what I also find out is that they haven't done any surveying from the standpoint of what other people are saying. So here's the key to branding. One of the key elements to branding, it's not what you say, it's what everyone else is saying about you. The question becomes, how are you influencing them? And that has to be by design. You have to design in a way your brand that actually resonates with your clients want to see, what they want to experience, and they have an expectation, okay? If that expectation is not matched to the experience, they're not going to say probably good things about your brand. So you have to be clear on what kind of experience do you want to deliver to your customer that's actually repeatable. The second big component to this is to make sure everybody on your sales team understands what kind of experience you want to create for that quote unquote customer or customers and have it where it actually becomes like a mantra where it's repeatable. So then everybody who answers the phone, everybody who's out in the field is very clear on what the whole quote unquote business is going to deliver on as an overall experience. So that experience needs to match that expectation. Okay. And a lot of times there is a big gap between what's the expectation and what's the experience. And that's where companies have a big problem trying to get past, like, let's say, $100,000 mark. And then it's even more difficult to pass that $1 million mark. And it makes it very, 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 very difficult or nearly impossible to get to the $1 billion mark, right?
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. I can see that happening. Well, I do see it. You see it too, I'm sure. You see it where people are just not working, living up to their full potential just because they're missing some of these key components that you're talking about, right? And so,
Exactly.
what is your suggestion if I am a startup, right? I'm just starting to figure out what I want to do. Maybe I'm going to leave my corporate job or whatever. What's your suggestion as far as steps to take?
I'm not pushing a sell here, but that's the reason why I wrote my book, Authentic Branding, because at the time when I wrote the book, everyone talked about branding, but no one talked about how to create a brand. No one wanted to divulge some of their trade secrets, right? Which is fine, you know. So I wrote a book that actually gives exercises to make people critically think about what kind of brand they're going to create and what are some of the key components, what you just said, what are some of the key DNA ingredients to give it some real tooth, to give it some real grounding, to give it some real foundation. So that's the first thing, is that at least if it's not my book, find some branding books that are out there that are good, that got good ratings, and start to look at those books and start to understand what is the truth behind branding. The second thing that I would look at is, if a company is just getting started, as I always say, start off by doing some beta testing and to do some quote unquote lay the land work to find out if your idea has some stickiness to it, and basically get customer feedback. Like, literally ask for deep questions about your product, service, or information, and ask them what kind of experience they had with their product and did it fill on the expectations, and ask them too what they would suggest to improve upon that product, service, or information. So I don't believe in focus groups. I've done a lot with Mattel, a lot of other groups, but I do firm believer in customer feedback. Customer feedback, again, as a brand, is not what you say, it's what other people are saying. That's how you can start to see in a small pilot run without wasting a lot of money, is to find out where the brand could be improved before you roll it out. So I call that like a mini stage. Okay.
Okay, so I'm loving this so much because I have seen time and time again where a retreat host will go onto Canva, create their quote unquote brand, throw a retreat together, and lose their ass on it, right? Because they did no testing. And I'm loving this because it's super easy actually for retreat hosts to test. You literally can do a virtual taste of what you're going to offer. You could do a 1-day retreat where it doesn't require overnight stays and it's local. You can offer all kinds of different scenarios that will get customer feedback on the language that you used, the branding, quote unquote, that you have, the experience of it all together. And I'm like a big, big fan. It reminds me, I used to own a candle company, and this is going to sound super silly, but it was a luxury candle company. Me and my friend owned it. We would spend an entire 6 months testing a new candle before we launched it, because there's so many different variables that would go into it. And how awful would it be if you received this candle that didn't perform? That might be one customer, but that's a representation of your brand, right? So we spent more time testing it and fine tuning it and developing it and being strategic about it before we even started marketing it. And I feel like we lose that when it comes to other things.
You're exactly right, because there's more products and service on the shelf than ever before. The testing is so critical to make sure that it's actually appealing to the right target market as well. That actually is a reflection of the price. So if you have something of quality is always the winner, by the way. Okay. So a lot of people do a lot of, copycat stuff. China was known for that, but people are sick of junk.
Yes, they are.
They're sick of it. The global market opened up and then all this crap started flooding the marketplace. People are sick of it. Like, it's killing big brands, by the way, as well. The point being is this: quality always pays off. Look at Apple product. Yeah, it was like twice as much as the next computer, but you know what? Look at, it's the biggest company, one of the biggest companies in the world. It's like they understood their philosophy, they understand the value that they're creating, and they understood they could create a pull to their market. Okay, a real pull. Okay, meaning bringing people in. Push marketing is pushing outward. Pull marketing is when people are gravitating because they want what you have, because it's based on quality.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for saying that. The other thing that we deal with in the retreat business, and this is not everyone, but it's a chunk of folks that are like, they just want to get something out to serve. They just want to get, I even hear like, I don't care about the money, which I'm like, oh my gosh, please, we're not going there. But I don't care about the money, or I just want to serve my community, or okay, that's fine. Go start a nonprofit. No problem. You can go do a nonprofit. You can give all your free time away. But if you're wanting to do something as a business, quality is so important. I don't care if it's a camping retreat or if it's a 5-star luxury hotel retreat. You still can offer quality within every step of that process, right?
Absolutely. By the way, when it comes to money, people have a sting on it. It's the same side of the coin, right? It's like or the other side of the coin, still the coin, right? The point being is that money is just fuel, it's energy. It gives you opportunity that you wouldn't have otherwise. So think of it this way: if people had less money, they had less opportunity to do good in this world. The more money that they have, the more good they could do. It's just the way it is. Think of money as just energy. So, by the way, I work with a lot of nonprofits. They might not be profitable, but they still have to bring in revenue. The more revenue they bring in, guess what? They get to hire more people and they get to penetrate the market deeper and actually make a bigger difference in different lives that they would have not reached otherwise, because now they have more marketing dollars, more branding dollars, more advertising dollars.
I,
So money is just a fuel.
I say the same thing. And for those who get really caught up on it, I'm like, look, make as much profit as you can and then give away scholarship spots. Donate that
Right.
money in. Just like you said, whatever you're passionate about, great. Take that profit and go do something with it, do something great with it. So I agree. Money is just an exchange of energy. And the more you have, the more influence you can have over things that are important to you.
Exactly. Exactly.
So I love this. Okay, tell me if somebody wants to work with you, Howard, obviously they can buy your book and I will have that linked in the show notes as well as just your contact information. But if somebody wanted to work with your company because they're like, you know what, I want to do this right the first time, what would they do?
And I love that. Yeah, that's what we're about, is doing it right the first time. Is we dig deeper because we know we're going to have something a lot more stable to actually be able to scale and grow. So the way that I work, whether you're a startup or whether you're, one of my billion-dollar companies, I always start with an assessment. And that assessment, by the way, can be found at howcreative/assessment. And you just fill it out the form. And here's the giveaway. I usually charge $2,500 to do these assessment, and where you turn in your ideas, you turn in your website, your logo, anything that you want me to review that's representing the company. A lot of times people just give me an outline and say, here's what I'm working on. What would you suggest? And then I'll start looking at the business model of things. Anyways, the point being is that I usually charge $2,500, but in the coupon code, if you put HOW, how, and you apply that coupon code, it drops it away all the way down to $500. But you'll still get $1,000 worth of value, because I'll take my 27 years, or actually 37 years, what am I saying? 37 years of experience of working and literally building many multi-million and over $7 billion companies. But I always start with an assessment. It's like going to the doctor. You have to start with the blood levels to figure out where you're at and where you want to go and what could be improved. So what I do for a full hour is I record and I look at your website, for example, and I start marking it up and start making concrete suggestions of how to improve that. So go from average to great. And I talk really fast, so the whole thing's recorded and the recording's sent to you. And then you can take your team and start making these changes. That's where I first start. So companies understand where that gap is between where they say they want to be, where they say they want to go, and where they're actually at.
Okay, I love it. So all of that will be linked in the show notes, including the link to the assessment as well as the coupon code. Are you a retreat host looking to take your marketing skills to the next level? Whether you're just starting out or a seasoned pro, our Retreat Marketing Masterclass is here to help you master, and I mean master, the art of retreat marketing. In this dynamic class, you'll dive deep into both digital and traditional marketing techniques, tailored specifically for retreat hosts. Learn the secrets of social media strategies, content marketing, and even how to leverage AI to boost your outreach. But that's not all. Our masterclass offers continuous updates to keep you aligned with the ever-evolving market trends. Imagine transforming your retreats into sought-after, sold-out experiences. Ready to turn your vision into reality? Join our Retreat Marketing Masterclass today and watch your retreats flourish. Don't miss out on this opportunity to elevate your marketing game. Visit retreatmarketingtools.com to enroll now and start your journey towards becoming a marketing master. Thank you so much. This was such valuable information. I love hearing this because I want more and more retreat hosts to be successful at what they do. As you know, we're moving into a world where we need more of these resets and reboots and even reprogramming in some ways just to bring out the best in each of us.
Yeah. One thing I want to add too.
Sure.
Get testimonials. Any company, product, or service or information is third-party endorsement. It's what other people say about your quote unquote retreat and what kind of experience that they had. And you want to guide the testimonials to align with what you feel and what makes your retreat unique from others. Okay. So you actually are strategic about the questions you ask for testimonials that are aligned again to your value proposition and what makes your retreat unique from others. That's then a good use of social media.
I understand totally. That's one of the big things that I talk to people about when they're putting together their landing page or their website or social media or all of that. Testimonials. Even I tell people, even if you've not held a retreat before, is there something in the capacity of what you're teaching, right? If you're teaching mindfulness or if you're teaching art or music, it doesn't even matter. You're teaching accounting, whatever it is that you're teaching. If you've worked with clients in that capacity before and you can get a testimonial from them of you working with them, awesome. If not, this is when you need to do that market research and offer some either very discounted or free experiences to gain the testimonial and market research, right? To see if it something that's going to be received well for the demographic that you think you want to work with.
And that's a really good point that you brought up. I remember my brother, who actually created a Think Different campaign, he came up with Think Different. We used to do a lot of work together. Anyways, the point being is this. When I was in college and I started to come out of college, he said, Howard, you need to build your portfolio. Even if you don't get paid, it's about your work. And so exactly what you're saying is like, even if you're not going to get paid to do your first and second retreat, it doesn't matter. You need to mock it up and you need to create it where you then hire like a film crew to do your videos. And now it's worth it because now you actually have the currency of testimonials.
Yeah, it's an investment. Any kind of business building is an investment. And I think that's the other thing that falls through the cracks is folks are thinking that their very first retreat, they're going to be a multimillionaire. So it's an investment. My husband is a speaker. He speaks for big companies around the world. And he's been doing it for almost 20 years. And I remember when he first started, it was like, it's free to fee, right? So he was out there talking to big companies, doing all his stuff, giving, 1 hour keynotes and wasn't making a dime or just his travel paid for or whatever, to today where he's way, 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 way beyond that. And so, you are free to fee sometimes when you're building that business, especially a service-based business.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much, Howard. I can't wait to share this with our audience. Once again, if you want to get a hold of Howard, his information is linked in the show notes. And I so appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on your podcast. I loved it.
Thanks for listening to the Retreat Leaders Podcast. Learn more at www.theretreatranch.com. See you next time.